Hi, I'm Rosanne, and today we'll be planting up this bunny topiary form so you can maybe see it better. Here it is against the white wall. Isn't he adorable? I'll be planting Bunny up with English ivy, and Bunny will be an indoor house plant, although I'm sure he'll make his way outdoors whenever there's a garden party, because he's a really nice addition to outdoor garden decor, and he makes people smile. This is actually a planting refresh. Bunny's been around the block before. We might call this planting version 2.0. Here's a picture of him at his finest. He looked great until the plant material on the inside of his frame started dying and turning brown. That and the fact a lot of the stems were getting a bit wild, we decided to basically start over. I purchased this topiary form from a company that makes all different animal shapes and different sizes. If you're crafty, though, you could certainly make a form yourself, be it an animal shape or a geometric shape. Because this was going to be a house plant, I opted for a relatively small topiary form. This rabbit is 21 inches tall, and the pot that I'm going to use, this is a new pot. Be sure to get a pot with a hole for drainage. Loosely cover up the hole to let water out, but keep the soil in. This pot is about 10 inches wide by 11 inches tall, and I think, Bunny will look just, really nice like this. To plant up the topiary form, we're going to be using English ivy. And this ivy is actually a cutting from the original Bunny. And I liked the look a lot of the ivy, so I do not want to change that. And after I did the cutting, I potted it in water. And after about 4 weeks, I would say I could have potted up Bunny, but it's been about 8 weeks now, and the roots are even stronger. They might look a little tangled, but it's really easy just to tease them apart. Now, if you didn't have an ivy plant hanging around and this is your first time, you could always go to a garden center and buy a plant or two of ivy. And I would say, just try to tease some of the stems apart as much as possible. Initially, when I planted version 1 of Bunny, I just put the nursery pot in the middle of the topiary form and then let the plant grow around the form. And that worked fine too, but I think it did contribute to the dying plant material on the inside of the form several years later. Some other supplies that I'll be using for this project is decorative gravel. This will go above the soil but beneath the topiary form to really separate the damp soil from the topiary form and provide a really good look. And then also some kind of wire supports that you can use to secure the topiary form firmly into the ground so that there's no, wiggling or tipping. I have 4 here. You can make these out of coat hangers or other wire, and I'm going to use 2 for each of the legs. I have my moistened potting soil in this green tub, and I'm going to just start filling my container. Shouldn't take long. I'm packing the potting soil down so it's nice and firm. And I've stopped where it's about 2 inches from the top of the pot. Now that the pot is filled with soil, I'm going to place Topiary Bunny on top of it. And you can see how nicely he's going to look when he's all planted up. And I'm going to use toothpicks to mark where I want to put the individual stem cuttings that will then twine and weave up this topiary form. I want a very dense planting, so I'll probably put the toothpicks about 1 to 2 inches apart. So let me do that now. I think I'm done placing the toothpicks, so now I'll lift off Topiary Bunny. Oh, one toothpick came along. That's okay. And you can see the outline of the toothpicks that I've placed. Now comes the fun part. I get to plant the individual stems. As you can see, I've separated them. It didn't take too long, and I have a really nice root system for most all of the stems. Again, this was 8 weeks in the water. I think you definitely could have started planting these at about 6 weeks or even 4 weeks, but the longer they're in the water, the stronger is the root system. So now again, I'm going to use this very narrow trowel. It's called a seed trowel, and remove one toothpick at a time and plant my ivy. So I'm just moving the soil around, really displacing it, creating a hole for the ivy. I'm going to need to use my fingers here. And one down. These roots are pretty tough. I'm not too worried about them. With the toothpicks as my guide, I ended up planting 14 of the ivy stems. I like how close together they are. I think they'll look really nice vining or twining up topiary bunny. I also ended up adding a few more scoops of soil to the top just to level it off. During the planting process, when you push down the plants, sometimes you create little divots or holes, so I did need to fill those in. My goal now will be to water this because I want everything to soak in even further to make sure that I have a totally level surface before I put on topiary bunny with the wire supports. The pot's been soaking for about 30 minutes, and I think it's time to move on. The next step will be a little tricky because I will need to place bunny. I want the ivy to be on the outside of the frame. Some pieces can be on the inside, but my plan was on the outside, except for the feet, which will be coming from underneath. That's also where I'm going to put my 4 staples. I'm done placing the topiary form with the 4 metal hooks that help secure the bunny in place. He's not totally tight now because I want to put the gravel in next, and then I'll work at winding the ivy stems around the form. So here I have my gravel. Again, it's actually aquarium gravel. I thought it was really attractive. So I will start spreading this and around the ivy and underneath the topiary form so that there's a separation between the metal and the soil. So now that we're all done planting bunny up, we're ready for our final step, and that is to complete the weaving or the training of the English ivy up the topiary form. I'll be working on this stem as an example. So it's pretty long, which is good, which is what I wanted. And I'm going to try to bring him in at the very bottom, bring him to the inside of the form. So I'm going to kind of tuck him under. I'm going to use my fingers for most of this. Again, when I planted the initial bunny, I just had one potted plant in the middle, and then when the stems were long enough, I did this exact same process. I pulled the plants in between the wires to essentially like weave it up the form. I don't always do them so tight as one wire to one wire, but in the beginning I do want this I do want to start it out really tight. So this was a nice long stem. I hope it's okay with my handling. So that would be one. I'll be placing Bunny in a south-facing window, although I understand that English ivy can do quite fine with less light. Then I'll fertilize Bunny about 4 times a year with all-purpose houseplant fertilizer. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and have taken away some interesting ideas for things you can do with your houseplants. Thanks for watching.